Well, I did it. I sent my resignation email. I am no longer an art teacher. My dream job, the job I love. I love to do it more than anything, and I can't. I can't do it because I'm burnt out, because my nervous system is dysregulated, because I'm losing my mind.
Don't waste your time and let's go start this video and watch this video.
These behaviors in the elementary school setting are so unhinged. I was never prepared for these behaviors. I'm not talking about the work refusal students or the ones that'll just sit at their desk and not do anything or participate. I'm talking about the student that's going to literally grab the pencil sharpener and throw it at the door without any hesitation at all. Okay, these behaviors are not just at my district. They are all over. I am not talking about special education classrooms only. I'm talking about general education classrooms. I go into those classrooms and I pull my special education kids, and the behaviors that are being demonstrated right in front of me with another adult in the room, these kids are so unfazed. They do not care that you are watching them. And then you call the parent and let them know the behavior that their child had today, and they tell me that the child's never even told them no at home and they're an angel. You're telling me that that child just threw a desk and they've never told you no, and they are complete angels at home? This is why we have so many burnt out teachers leaving teaching because of the behaviors in the classroom.
I'm a high school teacher. It is 4 weeks into the school year with students, and I am at my limit already. I am at my limit with being talked to and demanded at so disrespectfully, interrupted constantly, repeating myself countless times. This year feels worse than the last 5 years I've taught. This is bad. This year is not good. It's not good. We are struggling, and not a lot of us are going to last if this continues, because I think there's a reckoning of teachers realizing like, I actually don't deserve to be treated like and then every day wipe that slate clean and start on over as if it didn't happen. I teach high schoolers. I see it from videos of elementary school teachers and middle school teachers. I don't know when, as a society, we're going to wake up and say, our system is failing. Our students don't have basic respect or human decency. Teachers are done.
Teachers do not get paid enough. We all know this. They want you to be soft with kids. They want to let kids run the school. They don't want you giving any harsh consequences, and there needs to be discipline in schools, and honestly, a lot of schools have moved away from discipline. I'm all for positive reinforcement. I'm all for incentivizing students, but I'm also for making a kid right. I will not disrespect my teacher until their hand feels like they're gonna break. I'm also for locking a kid out of the classroom if he or she is distracting everyone else from learning.
So when teachers are saying that students have terrible reading skills and just lack reading comprehension, this is what we're talking about, okay? This is a warm-up that one of my 9th grade students turned in. I asked him about a field trip that we took. I enjoyed the field trip. I like learning about, I don't know. And then at the end he says, I did not like walking on pear. I guess that's him saying the pier. I would go back. This is a 15-year-old. This is a different 9th grade student. Same class. He said, I ran some for a PhD of the water. We're not exaggerating. It is bad out here. This is ridiculous, okay?
Teachers are quitting mid-year again at record numbers. This is one of the reasons why. A student who wasn't assigned to me or my classroom was let into my room by another adult, a teacher's aide, and repeatedly ignored my direction and instructions to leave. Eventually, she repeatedly called me and threatened me with physical violence, which sent me into a panic attack. I called the office for support, and as soon as the dean of students showed up to my classroom, I left and I went to the stairwell to go cry and have a panic attack. Once I calmed down, which took my entire lunch, I was expected to go back and teach my classes, because we had a sub shortage and nobody could cover my classes for the rest of the day. By the end of the day, the videos that the student took of me circulated amongst the student body, and I ended that day sitting at my desk feeling the most powerless and defeated that I've ever felt in my entire life. The student was not given a consequence that was fitting. She was sent home for the day. That was it. I received no apology, no restorative circle from the student or the adult who let them into my classroom, and the paraprofessional received no disciplinary actions. He stood in my classroom and allowed his student to speak to me in a degrading, violent, and disrespectful manner. After that class period was over, I had several students come up to me and say that they wanted to jump to my defense, but they were also afraid of that student and afraid of for their own safety. That's when I knew the profession I once loved was no longer the profession I needed or wanted, and I left a month later. And that story is not unique. Teachers aren't leaving because they don't care about the kids. They're leaving because the system no longer lets them teach kids. They're not allowed to teach self-management. They're not allowed to teach respect or accountability anymore. We are told to keep the peace, keep the bodies in the room. Some are even told to pass at 20%. Just get the kid the diploma. Pass them along so that the data looks good. But when we do that, we're not protecting the students. We're doing them a disservice because they are walking into a world that will hold them accountable. We could have taught them how to handle that with grace, empathy, and reflection. But instead, we're told to look the other way. Teachers quitting mid-year every single year is not an exodus. It's self-preservation. And deep down, it's heartbreak because they want to stay. The system is just making it so that staying is at the expense of yourself and your own family.
When is it enough? Like, when do I decide to throw in the towel and leave my kids and my team? Because I had like a legitimate panic attack last night for the first time in years, and I just feel like I'm being like completely picked apart. And I'm trying really hard to keep a positive attitude about it, but I just woke up so anxious this morning. And then I had 7 people from the district in my room observing me today, and I thought it went really well. My kids were engaged, they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And I had planning with my coach after, and she just told me about like all of the things that I did wrong. And I don't know how much more I can do. But my kids come in for indoor recess in 3 minutes, so I gotta get it together before that.
Well, guys, I made it a week, and I asked to put my resignation in. I've been dealing with so many health problems due to stress, at least the last 2 years, and I was hoping that being at a new school would change that. And day 3, I was in urgent care. It all came down to chronic stress, and I walked in the next day and said, I cannot do this anymore. And, you know, one of the questions people ask me is, why are teachers quitting so much? I'm going to tell you my experience, and this might not be everybody's experience, but for me, I am in fight or flight mode all day long, and I really don't know what would change it. I guess just the caseload. It's so much pressure in so many different areas. It's hard to explain to people that aren't in it. It's the workload. I narrowed it down to 2 choices. I said, okay, number 1, I either need to make peace with working 50 to 60 hours, and I need to go get some antidepressants. Option number 2 is make peace with quitting and trying something new. And that's what I decided. My health is just, my body is saying no more.
The extent to which a teacher's body, a teacher's psyche, a teacher's well-being are compromised in order to meet the needs of the school and of the students is staggering. I was always sick when summer break started. I was sick over any of the breaks because my body had been holding on for just long enough to make it to the next break. And at this point with teacher burnout, there are literal studies, academic studies, medical studies on the effects on the body that this has on humans. People who teach for decades are more likely to develop autoimmune conditions than their peers who did not. Almost all of the physical things that I struggled with when I was a teacher went away within months and then years of leaving teaching. I used to not sleep through the night, and I thought it was because I had had young children and had babies, but the insomnia wasn't because I was like tired or being interrupted in my sleep by babies. It was because of my job. As a teacher, I had frequent UTIs. I haven't had a UTI since leaving teaching. As a teacher, I got sinus infections so frequently that I was getting laryngitis, and I had pneumonia when I was 25 years old. I now travel for corporate. I travel all the time. I am on flights all the time, and I do not get sick. Like, I have so many days of sick leave just banked, and I'll just never use them. Whereas when I was a teacher, I never even had enough sick leave to take care of my own kids, much less myself. I'm no longer gaslit on a daily, weekly basis by parents, other teachers, students, administrators. Everything I need for work is paid for by work. I don't have to buy stuff to bring to work. And not that anybody was really clocking it, but none of the things that I mentioned included how much I was paid. as a teacher because I wasn't paid very much as a teacher and I am paid appropriately now, but those weren't even the main reasons why I left teaching. I don't miss my summer breaks. I don't miss any of my breaks. I don't miss needing a break from work. I now know the feeling of like, I am tired, I've been working a lot, I'm ready for a break, but it is not like I'm dragging my body across a finish line and just hoping that I make it so I can literally collapse.
Something is happening inside American classrooms, and teachers are speaking about it more openly than ever. Some educators are leaving the profession, while others say they're simply exhausted by the changes they're seeing every day. And when teachers talk about what's making their jobs harder, one generation keeps coming up, Gen Alpha. But is this really a problem with today's students, or is the education system struggling to keep up with a rapidly changing world? Teaching has never been an easy job, but educators today are dealing with a very different environment. Students are growing up surrounded by smartphones, tablets, social media gaming, and constantly changing online content. For many children, digital technology has been part of everyday life since they were very young. Teachers say this can make traditional classroom lessons more difficult because students may expect information to be faster, more visual, and more interactive. At the same time, teachers are expected to keep students engaged while managing everything else that comes with running a classroom. This is where the controversy begins. Some teachers say they are seeing more difficulty with focus, patience, and classroom behavior. Others argue that blaming an entire generation is unfair. Gen Alpha isn't one single group of identical students. Their experiences can be completely different depending on their family, school, community, access to technology, and individual personality. Supporters of Gen Alpha also point out that these students have grown up in an environment older generations never experienced. They may learn differently, but different doesn't automatically mean worse. And there's another important part of the story: teachers themselves. Educators aren't simply standing in front of a classroom and teaching a lesson. They deal with planning, grading administration, parent communication, classroom management, changing policies, technology, and the individual needs of students. When all of these responsibilities pile up, even passionate teachers can eventually feel exhausted. For some educators, the question becomes whether the job is still worth the stress, and when experienced teachers leave schools, can face an even bigger challenge replacing them. One of the biggest questions is whether technology is actually helping or hurting students. There's no doubt technology can make education more accessible. Students can research almost anything, instantly use educational tools, and learn through interactive platforms. But constant access to entertainment creates another challenge. Teachers are competing for attention in an environment where students can switch from a classroom lesson to an endless stream of videos, games, and social media within seconds. The solution probably isn't simply banning technology. Schools may need to teach students how to use it without allowing it to control their attention. The debate around Gen Alpha isn't going away. Teachers want students to succeed. Parents want their children to receive a good education. And students themselves are growing up in a world that looks completely different from the one their teachers experienced. Instead of simply blaming one generation, the bigger question may be whether schools can adapt fast enough to meet the needs of the next generation. So what do you think? Are teachers leaving because Gen Alpha is becoming harder to teach? Or are teachers simply being asked to deal with too many problems at once? Share your opinion in the comments and keep the discussion respectful.